What is the hardest rebuild possible in MLB The Show? I have done hundreds of rebuilds in this game, so this is a question I've been trying to answer for a very long time. However, after much thought, I think I've created the hardest challenge possible. Of course, we're going to be starting with a fully custom team where every player is a 0 overall with F potential. Only way to improve this team is through the draft. Any other method of acquiring players like free agency, trades, or the waiver wire will be completely banned. Now I know what you might be thinking. This has definitely been done before by many YouTubers, including myself. I did not invent this rebuild, and therefore this whole video's clickbait. If that's what you were thinking, hold on for just a second as I explain the rest of the rules. Despite seeming difficult, draft-only rebuilds are actually really easy to exploit. The reason for this is with so many young players on minimum contracts, you have a lot of budget to just sign your best players to pretty affordable extensions. That obviously makes winning a championship a lot easier, so in this video, we're not allowed to sign any players who are pending free agency. That means that after 6 years of service, all of our players have to sign with another team, but that's not even close to the biggest challenge. The big twist in this challenge is that the teams we're competing against are not using current day MLB rosters, but rather their all-time best teams. We have brought all-time greats like Babe Ruth and Barry Bonds back to MLB, and they will be facing off against our 0 overall squad of Joe Randoms. This is the hardest rebuild ever attempted in MLB The Show. In this rebuild, we're going to be using the team with the worst all-time roster, which happens to be the Tampa Bay Rays. They're going to be replaced with a custom team, but this is even more challenging for us because we're in the same division as the best team in MLB history. As you would expect from a team that's won 27 World Series in over 100 years of existence, the Yankees' all-time roster is absolutely stacked. Along with New York, though, we also have the Red Sox in our division who have some studs, along with Baltimore. That being said, it actually might take 5 years for this embarrassingly bad team to win a single game. This video is gonna get wild, so just for the memes, we're gonna be playing as the Savannah Bananas. The challenge had officially begun, and from our very first game, I knew this was gonna be rough. Just looking at the score right now, it's 23-0 on opening day, and if I'm being completely real with you guys, I don't think 23-0 is even that bad considering how awful this squad is. Sure enough, the losses were piling up very quickly, with some of them being terrible, including this one. Is that 235-2? I have never seen anything like that. I know it's the Angels, but this is one of the most ridiculous stat lines I think I've ever seen. On the bright side, I think that scoring 2 runs is a career high, but these numbers are just not acceptable. I don't know what I got myself into with this challenge, but I might be one of the dumbest YouTubers of all time. To no one's surprise, we would stay winless all the way into our first MLB draft, where my plan was to take starting pitcher Heath Adams in the first round. I know this guy's 23 years old, but the big reason that I'm interested is the combination of his ceiling and his floor. Also in MLB The Show, age is a huge factor in draft ranking, so Adams being 23 and ranked number 2 is a huge deal. He was the guy I wanted in the first round, but for the rest of the draft, I had my eyes on shortstop Josh Bennett and catcher Luis Villafuerte. Both players are going to be huge gems in this class, with Bennett being ranked number 34, while Villafuerte is ranked number 59. Just to make sure I get both of these players, I'm planning to draft them a round earlier than their projection, so for Bennett that's round 2, while Villafuerte would be round 3. Then with our second selection though, we do have some flexibility, but my favorite target is outfielder Jonah Meyer. He is a contact first player, which is always good in this game, and he would be a really nice value at number 36. In the event that we don't get him though, I might double up at starting pitcher, taking Alex Goslin. I definitely prefer a position guy, but could not complain about best player available. There's a pretty decent chance that Heath Adams will not be available at 14, but simming to our selection, that is not the case. Without further ado, I am making the first draft pick of this franchise. I know he's 23, but had to get the best value available. Now with our next selection though, we're really hoping that Jonah Corona Meyer falls, and simming forward, he is gone. My favorite target going at 27 and my backup going at 29 definitely put a wrench in my plans, although I think I found a really good solution. Just looking through the options, I feel like center fielder Joe Rodriguez is the best choice available, as he's ranked number 31 in the draft with really good athleticism and can play all three outfield spots along with second base. As bummed as I am that Meyer got sniped, I feel like Joe is also a good player. That was a bit of a hiccup, but the next two rounds went really smooth as we selected Josh Bennett and then took Luis Villafuerte in round number 3. We got the main three players we were after in Heath Adams, Josh Bennett, and Luis Villafuerte before ending the draft with two more starting pitchers and a second baseman. As expected, we finished 0 and 162, but adding our first players to the organization is a nice start. I do need to mention real quick that before the offseason starts, I have to go in and edit all of the Joe Random's potential to 99, or else they're gonna retire, making this challenge impossible. All I can say though is after the first year with all of these legends, look at free agency. This is absolutely insane. Players like Hank Aaron and Willie Mays are gonna be changing teams, so there's a good chance for the teams in our division to get even better while we're still stuck with 170 overall player. We don't have much to do in the offseason, but the one thing that's important is the draft lottery. Despite finishing 0 and 162, due to the way the draft lottery works, our odds for the number 1 pick are still 16.5%. We have to rebuild through the draft, so staying at number 1 is very important, and in this first year, we do get lucky. All of our recent draft picks will be starting in the minors until they're ready for the majors, so as we all expected, it's going to be another rough few years for the Bananas. After drafting 3 pitchers and 4 position players though, we have a really solid core to build around in this next draft. Considering that we had the number 1 overall pick in our second draft, I was really hoping that we could capitalize with a generational talent, but unfortunately, the top 2 players in the class were both very underwhelming. That would leave third baseman Cash Franco as the number 1 player in the class, and while his name is definitely elite and he's at a position of need at third base, I'm not really excited about his ceiling. I know Cash is still going to be a really good offensive player, but I can't help but feel like we could have gotten something better. Getting the number 1 pick is good, but this feels like kind of a waste. The good news for this draft though is I do see a lot of really nice position players who could add to our farm system. That includes 3 really nice shortstops that we could move to other positions. We're going to sim to our next selection where we see that the number 2 player on our board is still available. That is a really big deal because I wasn't sure who to take at 38, so we're going to be able to add the number 1 player on our board and now the number 2 player in the same draft. With 5 picks remaining, we still have plenty of options on the board, so I feel like this draft is going to be once again elite. I was feeling really good about that draft, and clearly for a good reason. Despite the slight disappointment with our top pick, we made up for it afterwards, taking a whole bunch of 90 potential 18-year-olds. Even though Franco was a bit disappointing though, he's coming in at 70 overall. To no one's surprise, we just had another winless season, but on the bright side of things, we built a really nice core. Now, is it good enough to beat the Yankees? Definitely not yet, but once these players develop, all I can say is look out. We had the number 1 pick last year, but I feel like we kind of wasted it, so I'm hoping that we can get it again this year. We went winless once again, so we have a 16.5% chance, and I'm hoping it blesses us. This is a really important simulation, as I'm hoping there's a generational player, and how did that happen? We go down 5 spots to the number 6 pick. That unfortunate luck really has a chance to go back on us if there's a generational player in our third draft. I was really thinking this would affect our next draft, but fortunately a really good player fell to us at number 6. If Hobson's here, I think I have no choice but to take him, and that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Playing it safe with the best player available. We're on pace to have another winless season, so I think the number 1 pick's gonna come back around, and getting a quality contact hitting infielder like Adam Hobson definitely helps us out. He is coming in at 70 overall right out the gate, and just in case you guys weren't happy about his potential, we went ahead and got a 99 potential second baseman. It may not have been a picture perfect draft, but even the lower potential players like Jim Robert had a very high overall. That being said, I really can't be mad at this, as we had another really good draft. Now at the end of year 3, we've drafted and developed a really solid core of players, but it's still pretty far away from being being on the same level as the all-time Yankees or the all-time Red Sox. Our next draft will be the last one before we start calling players up, and we once again have the #1 overall pick. That would give us a chance to add to a farm that already has 19 top 100 prospects, as we have drafted 8 pitchers and 13 position players who all have potential above B. Unfortunately, we're not going to get lucky with a generational player, although Zane Roberts is a really quality option at #1. As our #1 selection, I do think that he's a step above Cash Franco and should be another quality contributor for years to come. Since we're calling players up next year, we're gonna need a high floor player like him. Aside from Roberts though, the rest of this draft class is loaded with talent, as there are plenty of options at starting pitcher and one of the best closer prospects I've ever seen. I'm targeting Enrique Valentin with our next selection, but there's a pretty low chance we get him. In the event that we don't land him though, there's still a ton of really good options on the board. Simming to pick 39, sure enough, Valentin is gone, so we're going with my next favorite target in second baseman Chris Guerrero. Getting a closer of that caliber at 39 was pretty unlikely, but the rest of the board is falling in our favor. We just took an 18-year-old corner outfielder, and while I am keeping an eye on these discovery pitchers, none of them are going off the board, so I'm going to continue taking the best position guys available. We would wrap things up taking the #4 player in the class at number 167. That is an absurd value. That arguably ended up being our best draft class so far, as every single player we selected was 90 potential or above. I think the only thing that would have made this class better is getting the closer, who's 95 potential at 74 overall, but even after missing out on him, I feel like we crushed it and made up for it in a huge way. Through 4 seasons, the Bananas have still not won a game, but with so many of our prospects coming up to the show, that could very well change. To make this even harder though, it looks like the CPU called up Luis Villafuerte without my knowledge, so he's already played a full year of MLB service time. The Bananas are looking drastically different in Season 5 with all of their players coming up to the show, and this starting lineup is actually looking pretty solid. I'm seeing a lot of players from many different draft classes ready to contribute, and along with that, we have an elite rotation led by the first draft pick of the franchise, Heath Adams. At 26 years old, Heath Adams is the oldest player on the team, and is also our highest rated player. As an 86 overall with 99 potential and really well-balanced stats across the board, I'm really hoping that he can get us our first win in franchise history. He was one of our first round picks, with the other ones being Cash Franco, Adam Hobson, and then most recently, Zane Roberts. In our second draft, we selected Cash Franco first overall, and at 23 years old, he is our highest rated hitter at 80 overall. His stats are extremely well balanced, and he's gonna be our first baseman. Then in draft number 3, we selected contact hitting specialist Adam Hobson, who's definitely not the same hitter as Franco, but can go toe-to-toe with righties. Then finally, our most recent selection is Zane Roberts, who was just drafted in this previous draft class, and he's being called on to play right away. He's a contact hitting specialist as well, but most notably is one of the fastest players on the team at 87 speed. Without a doubt, the Bananas are the most improved roster in MLB, bringing all of their young talent up at the same time, but it's still going to be an uphill battle as they're taking on the Pirates, who have Paul Skeens and Garrett Cole. If you think that our lineup's looking good, get ready till you see the Pirates, because they have Prince Fielder, Jason Bay, and Roberto Clemente, along with signing Cody Bellinger in the offseason. After 4 years of drafting and developing, we're playing a game, and all eyes are going to be on our best player, Heath Adams. Early on though, our ace is in a bit of trouble and gives up 3 singles, including an RBI. We're going to face a lot of really good lineups, so winning our first game in franchise history is going to be an uphill battle. Adams is really struggling in his first career start, but maybe the offense can get something going as Jose Arnez delivers our first hit. He was a 3rd round pick in our second draft and is another player I have really high hopes for. Doubling off of Garrett Cole is no easy feat, and while the offense stranded him at second, we have 2 guys on in the 3rd. This is a huge RBI chance for our 98 potential catcher, as Villafuerte is battling but strikes out. That is really disappointing, but it does seem that Heath Adams has settled down, not giving up another run, and for a team full of rookies making their debut, we're putting up a fight against these legends. Our best base stealer on the team, Joe Rodriguez, Rodriguez just swiped a bag. So we have a runner in scoring position for the third time of the day, and Honus Lokdawalla's gonna drive him in. That is a huge RBI double for the former 5th round pick, and now going back to the top of the lineup, we have a really good chance to tie this game as Lokdawalla advances to third. Now it's up to the newly drafted 19-year-old Zane Roberts to drive him in, and he'll do exactly that. After a rough start to the day, I can't believe this is tied, and while he's been pulled out of the game, I give a lot of credit to Heath Adams, although our bullpen is really bad. We didn't have enough starting pitchers for a full bullpen, so we have a lot of Joe Random level players, and that's likely going to cost us the game, although our offense is showing it's not done yet. We are down by 2 runs with 2 guys on base, and there's no way! Adam Hobson, watch it go! The former 1st overall pick gives us the lead with a 3-run shot, and that was the best possible time for our first home run of the season. We rallied back from down 4 runs to take a 1-run lead in the 8th, and now we're putting in our closer. Norman Rouse was drafted 2 years ago, and he's 68 overall, and while those ratings do make me nervous, he strikes out Prince Fielder. Then, after putting away 1 more, he's down to his final out. All he has to do is put away Roberto Clemente, and he does exactly that, securing the Bananas their first win in their 5-year history. That was an absolute thriller, as nearly every player on the team was playing their first game ever. That is an incredible way to start out, and the best thing is, this team should only get better. We did not back down from legend Garrett Cole, as every single member of the lineup had a hit, and this was just a really impressive all-around performance. Getting our first win of the season is a huge deal, as we could basically lose every other game, and I think I'd be happy. We're summing out the rest of this series though, and we do lose both games. Now we're in Game 3 against Colorado, looking to close them out, but Rouse just made it really interesting. Leading by 1, prime Charlie Blackmon loads the bases, and now we need a big play from our center fielder. He's able to get there. That would help us secure our 3rd win of the season, and I know it's just the Rockies, but the Bananas are 3-3. We have found ways to win close games, but can't win another one against the Cardinals, although we do make up for it in Game 2. That will take us into scouting, where we have the number 2 overall pick and another chance to make a splash. Even with a team of rookies, we're showing our upside early on, as we're in a close game against the Diamondbacks that Franco ties up. More than anything, I'm curious who on this team, if anyone, is winning Rookie of the Year. So far, the best player on the team has honestly been a bit of a surprise, as Jose Arnaz has been our best offensive player despite being a 3rd round pick in 2026. He is putting up very respectable numbers with a 283 average and an 820 OPS. He has a chance to walk this off against Arizona and does get on base with a single. Now it's up to 99 potential Mackenzie Bruce, who pops up. So we're going to the 10th for the first time of the year, but they have Bryce Harper and Vlad Jr. They score a run, putting our backs up against the wall, and while we have put up a good fight, we just don't have the firepower to win this one. I gotta give credit to our pitching for keeping us in this one, along with Cash Franco, who had 3 RBIs. In the end though, our offense showed us why they're 29th in runs and 27th in hits. After a really good start, we're collapsing with 8 losses in a row, and suddenly we're 5-16. Then looking at scouting, the news only gets worse, as the projected number 1 player in the class, Jody Reyes, is an absolute bust. I was really hoping he'd be a good player, as we still have not taken a true first baseman, and unless someone like Dwayne Roush ends up being a gem, I'm not sure if that trend's gonna change. Once again, we have a pretty high draft pick at number 2 overall, but I'm really not seeing any players who could be generational. Not only is our draft class bad, but we continue losing games, and that is really unfortunate. We were off to such a strong start, but now we've lost 27 in a row. And checking out the stats, Cash Franco's been our best offensive player, but there's a real drop-off right after that. That includes Jose Arnaz, who just a minute ago I said might win Rookie of the Year. Instead, Franco is now the front runner, and thankfully the race doesn't seem to be that close. Simming forward, we also just found the number 1 player in the draft class in power-hitting shortstop Tyrell Domine, I think is how you say that. While he's certainly raw, having good power and athleticism is something we're taking a chance on. All these losses are really not helping the development development of our young players, but here's a chance to snap our losing streak against the Dodgers. Jose Arnez gives us the lead in the top of the 8th, and now we're counting on Norman Rouse to close them out. Saying that he has struggled would be putting it lightly, as he's put up an 11 ERA and a 2.85 whip. It should go without saying that I don't trust him in these big game situations, but he's the best we got, giving up a double to Chipper Jones. That makes Shohei Ohtani the winning run, and that is not a good spot to be in as we try to give him the high fastball inside, and Rouse puts it down the middle. Ohtani walks it off for the Dodgers, and the Bananas misery continues. Something's telling me that Norman Rouse is not the long-term answer at closer, as the offense actually played pretty okay. That magical first win of the season seems to be all history for the Bananas, as things have only gotten worse at the start of June, as we're not developing our players at all. Nearly every player in this lineup's on a cold streak, with the exception of 99 potential second baseman Mackenzie Bruce. He's only 67 overall, but this is certainly a player to keep an eye on, as his batting average is up to 254. At least that's good news, as checking out the pitchers, I think I've seen enough. This is one of the worst sights I've ever seen, as Heath Adams may be 87 overall, but he's posting an ERA of 7.47, and if your ERA is the same as a Boeing aircraft, you're doing something really wrong. At the start of June, we're gonna sell on the rest of our season, preserving service time by sending some of these players down to AAA. We have thrown in the towel on the season, so we're just gonna go to the draft and get out of here. I still have not found a player better than Tyrell Domine, so he's who I'm gonna take with the number 2 pick, but in the event that he's gone, I think that Paul Schnell is a perfectly fine backup. Then with our next selection, we're probably gonna take either him or Chuck Kendrick, but unlike in other drafts, I really want to address the bullpen heavily, as this is a very strong closer class, and we have 4 top 40 picks. This is one of the best closer classes I've ever seen, and I really want to take advantage. We are starting the draft where with the number 1 overall pick, the Padres take left fielder Jack Milano, giving us the guy we want in Tyler Domine. He's gonna take some time to develop, but he's a fantastic athlete and should come in with a very high ceiling. We get the guy we've wanted since the beginning, and now simulating to 31, both of my favorite starting pitchers are gone. Fortunately though, I see that the best closer in the draft is available, so we're gonna waste no time taking Edgar Rodriguez. Then following that up 5 picks later, we are doubling up at closer with Ryan Gibson. After addressing the bullpen heavily, we're going to the position players, as we found a bit of a gem in Tom Zhang. He's ranked number 27 in the class. Then following that up, the best player on our board is third baseman Jose Valbuena. He's ranked number 45, and we're taking him at 107. This was another successful draft class where we took 4 relief pitchers, which is a number I don't think I've ever reached before. Starting off at the top though, Tyrell Domine is 94 potential, coming in right out the gate at 67 overall. As I've mentioned since the start, power and speed is a great foundation to build on, and he's actually a lot less raw than I was expecting. Then with our second selection, we got lucky with Edgar Rodriguez still being on the board, and he looks like an absolute slam dunk. He is likely going to be our opening day closing pitcher at 76 overall with 96 potential. Then after Rodriguez though, we followed up immediately, taking a player nearly as good in Ryan Gibson. As I mentioned before, this was one of the best closer classes I'd ever seen, and getting 2 players of this caliber right at the top of the draft is so huge. Then after that, the next player I wanted to take was Guy Spillane, who also would have been extremely good, coming in at 72 overall and 93 potential. We may have missed out on him, but fortunately our discovery scouts found an absolute gem in Johnny Fairchild. He has a bit of a lower floor at 66 overall, but the ratings still look really good, and he's 90 potential. That might have been the best possible start to the draft, as then we took Tom Zhang, Jose Valbuena, and Robert Chavez, who all have over 90 potential. As always, we stayed true to our board, taking the best players available available, and once again, it pays off. Then, ending things off, we found a discovery closer in Matthew Hopp, who is 64 overall at 92 potential. We desperately needed to get some relievers, and this draft definitely came through. I'm really excited to sim to next year and see these guys on the mound. After starting out with 5 wins in their first month, the Bananas would go on to finish 8 in 154. On the bright side though, Cash Franco did win Rookie of the Year, giving us an extra first-round draft pick next year. He was the only player who stayed at the MLB roster when we decided to send everybody down, and he actually had a really good season with an 800 OPS. Entering season number 6, the cool thing about this year is we've drafted and developed enough players to finally have a complete roster. Both the lineup and the rotation are looking much improved from last year, and of course in the bullpen, it really helps drafting 4 guys. This includes our opening day closer, Edgar Rodriguez, who's coming in at 76 overall right out the gate. We're going to be counting on him and setup man Ryan Gibson to both have big years, while Johnny Fairchild and Matthew Hopp both slide into the bullpen as well. After another successful draft, we have 14 top 100 prospects, including 4 guys in the top 7. This is especially impressive considering we just graduated about 15 top 100 guys last year. Opening day is against the Rockies, who we actually beat early in a series last year, and that was our only series win of the season. One player who has to be better this year is Heath Adams, who may be the highest rated player on the team, but his career got off to a terrible start with a mid-7s ERA. Early on against the Rockies, he's in trouble, giving up a sac fly, and this needs to be the year that he breaks out as an ace, as we're down 1-0, but here's an automatic double from Zane Roberts. The 20-year-old outfielder gets into scoring position, and now Rookie of the Year Cash Franco's able to drive him in. That will tie it up, as there's a big swing and miss. I really thought that Villafuerte had that one, and he's another player who needs to be better entering his 3rd season. His potential is sky high at 98, but so far he's only averaging a 203 batting average and an OPS under 600. We do tie the game, but then in the 2nd inning, Heath Adams misplaces a fastball that Nico Horner sends over the fence. I'm a little worried about Adams' play, especially with the offense failing to make contact, but our 9th hitter, Leroy Griffin, sends this out of the park. That is a clutch home run in the bottom of the 5th as the Bananas tie it up, and as a former 3rd-round pick, Griffin is another player who I have very high hopes for. He is a switch-hitting center fielder and is also the fastest player on the team, so showing off power like that is very encouraging. Now we have ourselves a ball game, as to give the man credit, Heath Adams is locked back in, but he's over 100 pitches. That being said, this is going to come down to our new look bullpen, as Ryan Gibson is the first man up. Unfortunately though, he gives up a double to Sandoval and a 2-run shot to Blackman. Now it's going to take a miracle for us to get back in this, but we're right back in it again, and you've got to be kidding me. What just happened? Just a second ago, it was 8-3, but the Bananas pull off a win, rallying out of nowhere. I've got no idea what just happened. The 2nd-year man, Zane Roberts, delivered a walk-off 2-run shot, but just to make one thing clear, I was trying to sim to the end of the game. We were trailing 8-3 going into the 9th inning, but just like last season, the offense picked the right time for a late rally. The offense waited until the last possible second to put it together, but they ended up scoring 9 runs on 13 hits. I think that might be the most improbable victory in history of the channel, but now we have the rest of the series. We are jumping into this game looking to win this series in extra innings, and our brand new closer, Edgar Rodriguez, is trying to get us out of a tough situation, but gives up the sac fly. Now, very fittingly, it's once again up to Zane Roberts, and he's gonna deliver in the clutch one more time. Big play for the former 1st rounder. That is at least gonna guarantee the 12th inning, unless we can walk it off right here. Franco goes the other way, and it stays in the yard, getting Roberts to 3rd base. Now the bases are loaded, as an intentional walk brings up Josh Bennett, who cannot deliver. We were so incredibly close to walking it off, but unfortunately, it's gonna come down to the bottom of the 12th. Fortunately though, our brand new closer clutches up for us, so the winning run is officially on 2nd base, taking off, and I don't know why he didn't go home. He had a clear path to go home, but but for some reason auto base running didn't send him, although now the game's over. Joe Rodriguez walks it off, bringing the Bananas to 2-0. They have won a series against the Rockies for the second year in a row, scoring 4 runs on 8 hits. They're now 2-0 on the season with 2 walk-off victories, and I have a really good feeling about the rest of the season as they secure their first sweep and they're suddenly 4-1. Now against the Pirates though, they're going to win another game in walk-off fashion. Damon Klein hit a walk-off 2-run shot, and after 6 games, we're tied with the New York Yankees. This is certainly not where I expected us to be, but the Yankees are an incredible roster. They've managed to retain so many players from their all-time roster, and while this is a very good start for the Bananas, they still have a long way to go to catching them. Early on, the stats for the team are looking incredible as 20-year-old Zane Roberts is hitting 400 with an 1100 OPS. Now obviously that's not sustainable. It's only been 25 at-bats for him, but I wanted to show you guys the numbers just to show why we're winning games. Maybe the biggest reason for our success though is the rotation, as guys like Marcus Nash and Oliver Rivera played extremely well in their first starts. Even Heath Adams looks to be turning things around, while then in the bullpen, Matthew Hopp has been really good along with Edgar Rodriguez. The season just started, but we're already closing in on last year's win total, picking up another one against Texas. This was a 10-2 victory, which is actually our most dominant win in team history. Luis Villafuerte and Jose Arnaz both went deep, while Jim Robert put together 8 innings, only giving up 2 runs. That's gonna bring us into our first week of scouting, where we have the number 3 overall pick, which isn't great, but after getting the first pick 3 times in 6 seasons, I don't really expect to get it again. Just looking through the options for my early selection, my favorite position player might be Zane Fisher. He's a contact first second baseman with a pretty realistic gap between his potential and overall, but the big green flag for him here is that he has a low of 0 for power versus right. If you've watched my videos before, you know that this is a good thing because the game cannot generate a 0 stat. That means that he's likely going to be much closer to his maximum power versus right, which is 31. Also, just looking at his profile, 27 speed and 14 steal just don't really make sense to me. We're going to throw him on the board and hopefully watch his rank skyrocket. Now we're going to sim to the next week as our hot streak stays alive with a series win against the Rangers, although we lose one to the Angels. Now against the Braves though, we do get a walk-off victory and make it 2 games in a row. Already surpassed last year's win total with a 10-4 record, and don't look now, but that is tied for the best record in all of baseball. That is really impressive for a young team, but now we're going up against the Yankees, and an error gives up 2 runs in extra innings. While we've improved greatly, the defense is still a red flag, as we just turned an inning-ending double play into 3 runs for New York. That is very likely going to cost us the game, as we do score another run on a sac fly, but it might be too little too late. Nothing hurts quite like an extra innings loss to your biggest rival, especially at home, as they win this series 3-0. I don't know what else I was expecting, but against a lineup of legends, I have to applaud our effort. Adam Hobson and Cash Franco both hit home runs, while for the most part, the pitching held down their end of the deal, with Heath Adams going 7 innings, giving up 2 runs. That loss drops us all the way down to 4th place in our division, but looking at scouting, Zane Fisher is indeed a gem. We would get swept by the Yankees, but do win a series against the Diamondbacks, as the offense is actually kinda producing some runs. Checking out the league rankings, I'm actually surprised to see that we're in 14th in runs scored. Add in a rotation that's in 3rd for ERA, and we're doing a lot better than anybody expected. This time around, we're getting a lot better production from the entire offense rather than just one player. In particular, the 3rd draft pick of the entire video, Josh Bennett, has been our best offensive player, and despite a few errors at the shortstop position, he's mostly been good at that spot. At the start of April, we're gonna find out how legit we are going up against the Yankees again. This game is huge, as the winner will win the series, and we are looking to add to our 1-run lead in the 9th as our fastest player gets aboard. He hit hit the ball hard and beat out the throw to first base as Zane Roberts is gonna drive in a run. That is a huge play for the 20-year-old, and most importantly, we extend our lead against an insanely good offense. Now Edgar Rodriguez has a huge task going up against Lou Gehrig and Mickey Mantle. He retires Gehrig but loses Mantle, so now the winning run is at the plate. He's down to his final out of the game, and Robinson Cano pops up into right field, securing the Bananas the series win against New York. They bounce back just a week and a half after getting swept, and while they're still in 4th place, this division is ridiculously tough. If the season ended today, they would be 2 games out of the wild card, so it is so important that they stay on a hot streak as they sweep the Phillies, and that is how it's done. We also just uncovered the number 5 player in the class, so in the event that either of our top 2 options are gone, he could be our selection at number 3. Early on in the season, one thing that I do find interesting is, first of all, Yordan Alvarez is leading for MVP despite being in a league full of all-time greats. That is certainly a surprise, but not as shocking as the fact that Edgar Rodriguez is in 1st place for reliever of the year as a rookie. I don't actually think it's possible for a reliever to win Rookie of the Year, but if it is, he should definitely be the guy. Rodriguez has been a huge step up for us this season with an ERA of 1.57 and a whip of 0.7. He also already has 13 saves and is one of the reasons that we're competing for a playoff spot. In a league like this though, every single series is a grind, but we've won 3 series in a row. At the end of the month, we are 32-25, which is still a game back from the Red Sox, but now we are tied for the American League wild card. A big month of June could put us on top of the rankings, but we have only won 1 game through our first week. It is time for the Bananas to rally as we're going into a division series against the Red Sox, who sweep us. That is going to drop us down to 500 for the first time of the year as we split 2 games against the Mets to stay at 35-35. It seems we have not been able to sustain our early success as we're 21st in the league in runs, but on the bright side, our rotation has still been really good, ranking 5th. I am a little concerned about the guys in the rotation that are on cold streaks, but it seems that the improvements of the bullpen are making all the difference. It has not been perfect, but they're taking a lot of pressure off the rotation, which is more than I could ask for. We're trying to get above 500, but our next test is against probably the best team in baseball. The Orioles are in 1st place in our division for a very good reason with a loaded roster, and looking at the team rankings, I think that says it all. They're the 1st ranked team in the league. I don't want to be over dramatic, but this series could be season defining as they've won 2 out of 3 games in the series, and simming the last one, they shut us out. That will officially drop us below 500, but on the bright side, we're continuing to scout promising prospects. We just found the number 8 and the number 18 players in the class. I know that a lot of you have already seen my scouting guide, but in the event that you have not, you should definitely go check that out after this video. However, I definitely need to make another video updating it as I've discovered several new scouting methods throughout the year. Just for example, you should always be checking the not ranked section as you can find some gems late in the class. This second baseman is looking incredible, and I'm gonna scout him to see if he gains a ranking. I'm also gonna do the same thing with this closer as Henry Rosales has a lot of stats that are a minimum of 0. We're scouting those 2 players along with right fielder Wallace Flanagan, who also has some low minimums. This is the same scouting technique that I've been using throughout this entire video, and obviously the classes have been pretty good. Unfortunately, on the field though, the Bananas are definitely on a cold streak. Both of our not ranked players now have draft grades, meaning that they'll actually show up on the board. We also just discovered an absolute gem in Wallace Flanagan, who's now ranked 15 in the class. With our season kind of falling apart, I think the best move is to sim to the draft where we can have at least some positivity. At number 3 overall, I have my sights set on Zane Fisher, who is a great contact hitter and in my opinion is the best position player on the board. In the event that we missed out on him though, I would also be okay with somebody like Alex Slinger. Both players are guaranteed to have high ceilings and you can't go wrong with either one of them. At least with the way the board's falling though, we should be able to get our guy, although Fisher goes off the board at number 2. Never mind. That is certainly disappointing, but I feel like Alex Slinger is a pretty good backup option. He will be the selection at number 3. And now simming to the next round, it looks like most of my board is still intact. With 5 selections in the top 100, I should be able to get many of the position guys I'm targeting, starting with the next guy projected to go in center fielder Daniel Lima. Now at number 40, I'm taking another outfielder, and simming to 72, we're just gonna take the best non-discovery player on the board in Ramon Valenzuela. Now in round 5, with plenty discovery pitchers left on the board, we are taking one of the biggest gems in the class in not ranked second baseman Thad Montero. We uncovered him using the not ranked strategy, as we may have struggled going into the All-Star break, but can always count on the draft for entertainment. Also, in this League of Legends, it is very impressive to see that Edgar Rodriguez made the All-Star game as a rookie. So far, he has had a fantastic season with a whip under 1, and on top of that, has 26 saves. Despite just getting drafted at 21 years old, I think he's already become our most exciting player, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's our only All-Star representative. Sure enough, scrolling through the list, I'm not seeing anybody else. I guess that does make sense, considering that the offense is now ranked 26th in runs, and our team ERA has also dropped considerably down to 12th. While I'm not going to be sending our players down to AAA like I did last year, it is disappointing that we have not been able to sustain our success. Some players like former first rounders Cash Franco and Adam Hobson are having success, but overall I'm just seeing a lot of inconsistency. That also applies to the rotation, as Heath Adams may have finally broken out as an ace, but the rest of the rotation is proving that their success is unsustainable. Simming to the start of August, things would only get worse as we're 49 and 60. While I do think we have a promising future, I'm really counting on this draft led by Alex Slinger to save us. We've done a lot of drafts, but I definitely felt good about this one, and it seems that there is a lot of blue. Despite missing out on our number 1 target, we got a really nice starting pitcher in Alex Slinger before taking 4 outfielders with our next 5 picks, and then close things out with an absolute gem in Thad Montero. He went from being an unranked player to a 98 potential gem, as we close things out with him and a discovery closer. That is an A+ draft, and I'm really excited to see these guys take the field at some point in the future. It would have been really nice to take Zane Fisher, but honestly, he's just as good as the pitcher. With that draft out of the way, I think it's best to just sim the rest of the season, as we are not going to be making the playoffs. We would finish the year with a 70 and 92 record, which is not the worst record in MLB. That is the first time in team history that we have not been the worst team in the league, as there were 4 different teams in the AL with a worse record than the Bananas. That is a huge deal, especially considering the division we were in, as Hank Aaron won the MVP, Sandy Koufax won the Cy Young, and Mariano Rivera is your reliever of the year. Those are 3 major award winners, all from our division, so we definitely have our work cut out for us, although that's a surprise. I have never seen a closer win Rookie of the Year, but Edgar Rodriguez just did exactly that, successfully giving us our 3rd Rookie of the Year winner in a row. That may not seem like a big deal, but in a draft-only rebuild like this, you can get first-round picks for your guys winning awards, and one of those is Rookie of the Year. As you would expect in a 70-win season, the offense also took a huge step forward, as we had plenty of players with an OPS 700 or above. That was really encouraging, along with the fact that Adams put up an ERA under 4, and while the rest of the rotation is still a work in progress, we have several players 85 overall or above. We continue to look better and better, and with every single player coming back for the next 4 seasons, we should be able to make the playoffs sometime in that window. I feel like we've built a core that can win a World Series, but remember that they have 4 years to do it, or else over half of the team is going to hit free agency. In the event that that happens, we're basically going to be starting from scratch with a brand new roster, and are going to be starting from the bottom all over again. That is why reloading this farm system has been so important, as we're going into the year with 6 of the top 10 prospects in the league. That also includes 17 guys in the top 100, which is even more impressive. Opening season 7, this is the first time we have not been ranked 30th, coming in at 28th. We're going up against the Blue Jays on opening day, and they have drafted the only generational talent to have popped up in the entire franchise. They selected Albert Ullman in the first draft of the franchise, and he is 96 overall. We have won 2 opening days in a row, row as Heath Adams is back on the mound for the third opening day of his career. I'm curious if this is the year that he breaks out as a Cy Young player, but he keeps giving up singles. He's gotten off to slow starts in every opening day, but he does put the Blue Jays away. Now it's time to see the offense as Roberts starts out with a walk, and Cash Franco is still batting third as Roberts takes off for second. However, Franco would strike out as Villafuerte walks, which sets up a big opportunity for Jose Arnaz, who cannot sneak this through the infield. Despite both sides getting 2 guys on base, it is 0-0, and we are still scoreless in the bottom of the third. Once again though, Zane Roberts is on second base, and Cash Franco gets redemption, driving him in. The 2 first-round picks collaborate, getting our first run of the season, and now Jose Arnaz goes deep. He got a curveball right over the middle, and he was not gonna let that chance go to waste. It is now 4-0 Bananas as Heath Adams is still holding it down, and after another Arnaz home run, we have this in the bag. The Bananas continue their dominance on opening day, winning their 3rd in a row, as they make a huge statement against the Blue Jays, who finished 4th place in the division, while the Bananas, of course, came in last. I gotta give credit to Heath Adams, starting the season on a fantastic note, going 7 innings, only giving up 1 run. That is hopefully the start of an elite season for our best player, as we win this series against Toronto 3-1. Our rotation's development has really come along, and we are better than ever, starting the season out 7-1. I'm really hoping that this could be our year, but now we have a huge test going up against not only the defending division champs, but the defending World Series champion Orioles. It feels like their team has only gotten better since last year, so this is gonna be pretty interesting. We're jumping into game 1 of the series with Heath Adams on the mound against one of the craziest offenses I've ever seen. To my surprise though, the Bananas struck first and now hit a 2-run shot. We're only a week into the year, but this could be the most important series of the season, as we are on the road against the defending champs and cannot stop making good contact. The top of our lineup has started the season out on fire, and that is gonna drop in. With the bases loaded and nobody out, we're looking to put the game away, as that is a sac fly. That would secure a 6-1 Bananas victory, as they start the season with an incredible 10-1 record. It is way too early to say it, but they might be the biggest breakout team of this season, especially because looking at the stats, players like Zane Roberts, Cash Franco, and Luis Villafuerte have been awesome. Specifically though, Roberts has been fantastic, and I believe he's leading the league in batting average. Sure enough, he's in 2nd place for the MVP and leading for the batting title, and I personally did not expect his ceiling to be this high. In his first 2 years with the Bananas, he's been solid at best, so early on, this is looking like a meteoric breakout. Add in a rotation that so far is 1st in the league in ERA, and there's a lot to be excited about. Now it's time for the rest of the Baltimore series though, as we win the 2nd game and lose the 3rd. Winning the series would put the entire league on notice, so we're jumping into it, and we're leading by 1 run in the 7th, but strand the bases loaded. Now our bullpen needs to hold on as we strike out the side, and I gotta give a lot of credit to 6th-round pick Matthew Hopp. He was the worst of 4 relief pitchers that we drafted just 2 years ago, and while he really struggled in his rookie season, he just struck out a really good offense. Now in the bottom of the 9th though, it's all up to our closer Edgar Rodriguez, who's down to his final out. There's a single and there's another. Now the tying and the winning runs are on base for Pete Rose, but he pops up into foul grounds and we're able to hold on. We secure a 3-1 series victory against the World Series champs, so now our confidence is at an all-time high, although we just lost a series to Toronto. That is going to drop our record to 3-1 as we're looking to rebound against the Nationals and do secure a sweep. That is a huge deal, even if the A's beat us. To be fair, the Athletics are in 1st place in the West, and while the all-time rosters have kinda gotten messed up, they still have Reggie Jackson and signed Roki Sasaki. We're still in 1st place in the division, although the Yankees are now right behind us. That is gonna make this upcoming series against the Red Sox even more important as we get swept by Texas. We are scoreless in the 7th inning, at least until Jose Arnaz scores 2 runs on a single. That would help us secure the series victory, but we're not gonna have a single second to breathe because we're taking on Baltimore again. Early on in the season, we have gotten the AL East gone gauntlet as we're trailing by 1 in the 9th inning. With the tying run on third base though, we swing at a terrible pitch, and that's gonna give Baltimore the series win. Simming the last game of the series, we would actually get swept, and we have now lost 8 out of our last 10 games. Even with our recent struggles though, the offense is still playing at a pretty high level, so I'm optimistic we're not gonna see a collapse. If we want a chance at winning this division though, we need to rebound against the Yankees as we're going up against Babe Ruth in the first game of the series. This was a back and forth game, but ultimately a late home run from Lou Gehrig would seal it for New York, so we're already off to a bad start, but simming the second game, we win 6-5. That means it all comes down to game number 3, where the Bananas have a 5-4 lead. However, the bullpen has been really hit or miss this year, and they're able to quickly tie it right back up. The Bananas have been really good in clutch situations, and they're gonna need one more rally to beat their biggest rival. It would be really nice to avoid extra innings as Rodriguez gets on base, and after stealing second, a wild pitch is gonna get him to third. That puts the game's winning run on third base, but we are unable to secure the sac fly, meaning that this all comes down to Adam Hobson. Lefties are definitely his weakness, so it's time to lock in. He's able to sneak this up the middle and give the Bananas a huge walk-off series win. They have taken down the Yankees and the Orioles this year, and this series victory puts them right back in first place. Also, now that it's the start of June, we've officially made it through the division gauntlet, and we're going to start off the month on fire, winning several games in a row. At the start of July, we're sustaining a 2-game division lead, and looking at the stats, it seems that the offense only continues to improve. While Zane Roberts is no longer the favorite for the batting title, he's still putting together a breakout season, while several other young players are all on hot streaks. We have 5 guys above 800 OPS and a few more above 700. Then in the rotation, it seems that everybody's playing well except for Heath Adams. For some reason, the 96 overall player just can't seem to figure it out, as he started out the season on such a good note, but just gave up 7 runs in his last start. Even with his struggles though, we're still in first in the league in ERA, and I also gotta give a huge shout out to All-Star Edgar Rodriguez. He is having another great season with 27 saves and really good numbers. If the season ended today though, he would be in first place for reliever of the year. And then checking out the offense, the Orioles and the Yankees are second and fourth in runs scored, while we come in at 10th. It seems that our success is not a fluke, as we're going into the MLB draft taking starting pitcher Russell Darth with our first selection. At least compared to other draft classes we've seen, this one feels a little bit weaker than the others, but even then, we've still been able to get some pretty quality players. Going into the All-Star break, we are tied with the New York Yankees, and with such a close race between the Bananas, the Yankees, and then the Orioles, our young team is going to be really tested in the second half. While we know that Edgar Rodriguez is once again an All-Star, we also see that Oliver Rivera made it for the first time. At the start of the season, I think I would have put money on Heath Adams to be the first starting pitcher to make an All-Star game, but so far this season, he has been greatly outplayed by the 2026 second-round pick. He has made the All-Star game along with Pedro Martinez and Babe Ruth, and with such a good season for the offense, I would have expected someone to make the game for us, but I'm not seeing anybody. It seems that All-Star spots are extremely difficult to come by in a league full of legends, as neither Cash Franco or Zane Roberts hit for enough power to make the game. That will bring us into the second half of the season, where we need to start out on fire, taking on the Red Sox and winning both of our first 2 series. The offense continues to be a bit of a mixed bag, but with Zane Roberts once again heating up again, there might be a chance to explode in the last couple months of the year. Him and Franco have carried the offense the entire season, as they are leading our consistent starters in OPS by a large margin. Then in the rotation, things are once again looking pretty good, although I don't know what the deal is with Heath Adams. Despite being our ace and the highest ranked player on the entire team, he has been one of our least effective pitchers of the year. If we're gonna do any damage in the playoffs, he has to be better. We're gonna move on to the rest of the season, but before we do, we're gonna take a look at this draft class, which, as I mentioned before, I didn't think was very strong. Due to the the lack of variety, we ended up taking 4 starting pitchers with only one of them having a potential above 90. We started off the draft taking the best player available in starting pitcher Russell Darth, and while his potential's only 88, he is coming in at 68 overall. That's a bit of an underwhelming first round pick, but we made up for it taking closing pitcher Jeff Newhouser. That will give us another solid reliever in the system, as we then followed up taking 2 more starting pitchers, along with another closer. Then, as we always seem to do in these drafts, we ended off on a very strong note, taking 4 90 potential players in a row. Now we're gonna sim to the end of the season as we sweep the Rockies, but that is our only series win of the month. In a division like this, that is not gonna be strong enough as we drop down to 3rd place. Just putting it simply, the offense has not been good enough as we're now 19th in the league in runs scored. Despite the consistency of Franco and Roberts, the rest of the offense has left a lot to be desired. At the very least, we're in a really good spot for the wild card, leading the Red Sox by 7 games. While it is very unlikely we miss the playoffs, we are facing a really tough schedule down the stretch, going up against the Yankees twice and the Orioles once. With just 6 weeks to go, we're trailing by 4 games in our division, and we're facing both of the teams in front of us getting swept by Baltimore. That will officially clinch the Orioles the division for the 2nd year in a row, while the Bananas will make the 2nd wild card. They would finish 96 and 66. After a grueling 7-year rebuild, starting as a 0 overall team, we have finally made the playoffs and have a pretty talented roster. At least under normal circumstances, I would be fully confident in this team's ability to make a deep playoff run, but we're going up against the Yankees in the wild card. If there's any chance for us to win this, we need to come out swinging with Oliver Rivera on the mound. He won the All-Star game, and there's a Leroy Griffin home run. The speedy center fielder is absolutely not known for his power, but I'll take it. Going up against Roger Clemens, I'm expecting a pitching duel, so getting an early run on the board is a huge deal. Unfortunately, we just stranded 2 runners on base, but Rivera's gonna lock it down, as he's showing that he won the Cy Young for a good reason. The game is tied. It seems the Yankees offense is finally waking up as Lee connects on an RBI double into right field, and New York can make this a lot worse, but Rivera locks in. That will keep their lead at only a run, so we really need to capitalize here, but immediately hit into a double play. Now in the 9th inning, this is our last chance as Griffin starts out with a double. Down to our final out, Franco's gonna get aboard, so now it's all up to Luis Villafuerte, and he gets a fastball right down the middle and sends that into left field. That is a go-ahead 2-out 9th inning home run. The crowd is completely stunned as the Bananas take the lead in Game 1. I was completely ready to call it quits, but Villafuerte just makes this a lot more interesting. That will give a 2-run cushion to one of the best closers in the game, and with 2 away, he's looking for the final out of this game as the runner takes off and Villafuerte guns him down. That is 2 clutch 9th inning plays from our catcher as we stun the Yankees. Villafuerte and Leroy Griffin single-handedly won that game for us, so now the Yankees are facing elimination, going up against Heath Adams. While he did not have a good season, he's our 2nd highest rated pitcher, and maybe we shouldn't have played him. New York exploded with a 4-run inning, although we're gonna come right back with 3 of our own. We stopped the Yankees from running away with it, but Jeter goes deep, and then the offense would get shut out the rest of the way. The Yankees have forced Game 3, and it looks like the next man up in the rotation is Cyrus Cabrera. He was a bit of an afterthought, being taken in the 6th round of the same draft we got Heath Adams, but he's gonna get the shot to win us our first playoff series ever. It is now or never as the Yankees strike first with a 3-run shot. That is really bad. I know I just hyped him up, but Cabrera might not be the guy. He has already been taken out of the game as Ron Guidry is completely shutting down our offense. This series got off to such a promising start, but very fittingly, Villafuerte will be the final out. New York rallied from behind, winning 2 games in a row, eliminating Savannah in their first ever playoff series. That one definitely stings, but there's no doubt in my mind that this version of the Bananas will be back. This is our outlook over the next 4 years, as in 2035, we're going to be losing our entire roster. The really nice thing about a draft-only rebuild is because I can't trade for or sign any players, we're running back the same lineup. The ratings on our team can continue to look better and better, as there's not a single player in the lineup with an overall under 80, and only a couple of players have reached their potential. Then in the rotation, it might actually be even better, as there's not a single player under 85 overall, and while the bullpen is a little less talented, there's a lot of room for us to grow. From the first series of the year though, we're gonna need to be playing our best, as we have a rematch of the wild card. It feels like deja vu to be taking on the Yankees on opening day, but remember, we have a 3-game opening day win streak, and there's a Babe Ruth nuke. That will make it 3-0, and the offense has not come to play, although Villafuerte strikes again. Now in the 7th inning, it's only a 1-run game, but there's a double play. That was exactly what we couldn't afford to give up, as there's another double play, and we just can't escape them. Now we're down to our last chance for revenge, and of course, that's another double play. So we're down to our final out, and our opening day win streak might be over, although Arnez gives us a drive, and that is gone. We are the clutchest team of all time. If every game was opening day, I'm convinced we would be 162-0, because if I remember correctly, that's not the first time we've hit a 9th inning home run. All of our opening day games have been very high drama, but now we pop up, so now the Yankees can walk this off, and they're not gonna do it. If we can take the lead here, Edgar Rodriguez is perfectly fit to close it out, and Luis Villafuerte still owns the Yankees. He has been our best offensive player, starting us off with a 2-run shot earlier, and now driving in the go-ahead run. That is gonna give all-star closer Edgar Rodriguez a chance to close this out, and he has 2 away. He is looking to keep our opening day win streak alive as Babe Ruth pops up into center field, and that's gonna do it. On a highly anticipated opening day, the Bananas secure a come-from-behind victory, and the most exciting thing about this team is they should only get better winning the series. We have gotten off to another incredible start, although the Orioles are undefeated. Coming into this video, I really thought the Yankees were gonna be the team to beat, but Baltimore has definitely dethroned them. We're taking on Baltimore later this month, but first we have a series against the Yankees, and we avoid getting swept. We lose the series 2-1, looking to rebound against Minnesota though, which we're able to do. That will bring our record to 14-17, which is still 2 games behind the Orioles. Then taking a look to check out scouting, we just uncovered the #1 player in Rolando Jimenez. While it is not likely that he falls to our selection, we're gonna need someone to eventually replace Luis Villafuerte. The reason I say that is, unlike most players who have 4 years before free agency, Villafuerte was brought up early by the CPU, so he only has 3 years. Now it's time for the biggest series of the year, as we start out with a victory. That is a huge deal, as simming forward, we win 14-2. There were lots of questions about our team going into this series, but it seems we have silenced our doubters, as the entire offense steps up, giving us a huge victory. That will officially put us in first place, although with one more game to play, there is the sweep. We stand alone on top. A 22-9 record is far better than I expected. Taking a look at the stats though, while some players like Zane Roberts and Jose Arnez are having good seasons, I was expecting the numbers to pop off the screen just a little bit more. It does seem that the offense is more well balanced than in previous seasons, which I will definitely take, but seeing some players like Luis Villafuerte and Mackenzie Bruce struggle is certainly a concern. That means that just like last year, the rotation is carrying this team, and it feels like this could finally be the year for Heath Adams. Over the past couple years, Oliver Rivera has been the better player, but Adams still has sky-high potential, and he's finally showing it. We are ranked 3rd in team ERA, and we're looking to keep the momentum going into this game against the Guardians. We are tied up at 1 apiece, looking to walk this off, although we strand 2 runners. That is going to take us into extra innings where Gibson's on the mound, so now we get another chance to walk it off, and that was a meatball to Villafuerte. He needs to come through on that. Despite having 98 potential and being 85 overall, we have yet to see a truly dynamic season for him, although last year was really encouraging. He's one of the players that the Bananas need to step up if they're gonna win the division, as Josh Bennett's gonna walk this game off. That is a 2-out walk-off RBI single as the Bananas win in style. We start out the month of May on a really good note before winning a series against the Tigers, but then we take a series loss to drop to 2nd place. On the bright side, we're still uncovering some really solid late round gems, with the most recent discovery being center fielder Willie Feliciano. He is now the 8th ranked player on our board, but with so many many good options, I still don't know who I want to take at number 21. Making the playoffs means that we are picking a lot further down the board, which limits our options, but so far we've done a really good job of uncovering some gems. We're gonna sim out the rest of the month and see how we're doing compared to the Orioles. At the start of June, we are 43-21 and back in first place. After losing that series against the Tigers, we started a 10-game winning streak, which is a huge reason we're in the spot we're in right now. Approaching the All-Star break, it's really clear that the NL East is gonna come down to us and the Orioles, but we're taking a quick break for the MLB draft. I have not drafted a catcher in the franchise since Luis Villafuerte, so with my number 1 selection, I'm really hoping that Rolando Jimenez can fall. Simming to our next selection though, Rolando goes 17th. While that's definitely a tough loss, we're gonna brush it off taking Robbie McGinnis, who is the number 1 player in the class. We're gonna find out how that draft went, but at the All-Star break, we are 63-33 with a 1-game lead in the East. While there's no doubt that the Orioles are elite, all of the legends in this league are starting to get up there in age and therefore starting to regress. Then at the same time though, our team is only getting better. With a roster that looks like this, I feel like this could be the season that we finally make a deep playoff run. The offense is much more well balanced than we've seen previously, as it's not just the first round picks pulling us anymore. While some players like Roberts and Franco have been really consistent, someone like Joe Rodriguez has stepped up, making an all-star game. He was the 2nd draft pick of the video, and while it's taken him some time to get rolling at B potential, he's probably the most well-rounded player on the team. Despite the fact that our offense is pretty solid on paper though, we're only tied for 15th in the league in hits, and then taking a look at runs, I'm assuming we're gonna be around the same. Again though, the rotation has been what's carrying us, as Heath Adams leads the team in ERA. We are the best team in the league in terms of ERA, with the entire rotation stepping up, and especially Rivera and Adams. They have been outstanding, and checking out the bullpen, it's been another good year for Edgar Rodriguez. As you would expect, both Adams and Rivera make the All-Star game, while Rodriguez does get the three-peat, and checking out the offense, I'm not expecting much here, as Joe Rodriguez makes it, and that's it. Despite having a lot of legends in the league, we're ranked 4th, which is really impressive. That's gonna put us in a really good spot for the second half, although simming out of the break, we're not playing all that well. The final 2 months of the year are gonna decide who the true best team in the division is, as we remain tied with the Orioles. This rivalry is at its all-time peak right now, as we're checking out our draft class, and this is actually not as good as we're used to. First and foremost, we failed to sign a draft pick for the first time in the franchise, which is really not common. Then in the first round, after missing out on our initial target, we took Robbie McGinnis, who looks pretty solid at 92 potential, and he's also coming in at 65 overall. While that is a solid start to the draft, it's not what I expect with the number 1 player, as we proceeded to whiff on our second target. I was really hoping this right fielder would end up being a lot better than he was, so this overall might be our worst draft class. Obviously it's not that bad, considering that we still struck gold on a couple of players in the middle of the class, but not signing Derek Wild was definitely a missed opportunity, while our final selection was only okay. Considering how well we've drafted throughout the video though, I'm honestly not too worried about it, as we have our first 99 overall player in Heath Adams. This season is going to be all about our playoff run, and I'm excited to see what we can do down the stretch. We are simming the entire month of August, and we're going to see where we are at the beginning of September. Sure enough, with our improvements and the Orioles' regression, we are 2.5 games up in the division. The offense remains really well balanced, with Jose Arnez leading us in RBIs and home runs, and we have several players who are actually over 20. That's really exciting. It doesn't look like we're going to have a player exceed 100 RBIs, but this development is extremely encouraging for the future. Look at all of these quality players. After years of suffering, the Savannah Bananas are the most complete team in all of baseball, and it looks like they're only going to get better. We have the best rotation in the league hands down, and the bullpen has also taken a significant step up, with guys like Norman Rouse, Ryan Gibson, and of course Edgar Rodriguez holding it down. Right now I'm feeling really good about our chances to win the division, but more than likely it's all going to come down to this series against the Orioles. We are in first place by 2 games with 10 games to go in the season. We're going to start out simming the first 2 games, and we split them evenly. That's going to make game 3 very important, and we do get the victory, but we do lose the 4th game, so there's still hanging on going into the final series of the year. Then we would lose a series against the Red Sox, so we're in a bit of trouble, but we get out of a jam in Game 1. With a 1-game lead in the division, Edgar Rodriguez is gonna close this out as we officially reach 100 wins and only need one more victory to secure the division. We're simming forward and do lose the second, so it all comes down to this. This game will not only decide the division, but also if we're gonna have a first round bye in the playoffs or once again be a wild card team. That being said, the stakes are about as high as you can get, and Oliver Rivera is rising to the challenge. He's been elite on the mound. We are holding on to a 1-0 lead as Jose Arnez, our best offensive player, delivers. He will make it 2-0 as Josh Bennett rallies right back with another RBI single. Then after another run, the best pitching staff in the game closes them out, securing the Savannah Bananas an AL East title. I do gotta say, they're not celebrating this nearly the same way as I thought they would, but I do believe that somewhere deep down, they're thrilled. We finish 101-61, which is 1 game shy of the defending World Series champion. Even in a simulation like this with legendary players, I do have to say real quick that it's hilarious that even in a simulation like this, my favorite team finds a way to be the best team in baseball. If you've been watching the channel for a while, it's kind of an ongoing joke that the Mariners are always in the World Series against me, and rightfully, this team is stacked, so we're probably gonna see them in the ALCS. Going back to the Bananas though, it was a really good season for Luis Villafuerte, who had 32 home runs and 91 RBIs. I said at the beginning of the year that we're just waiting for him to break out, and while he only put up a 736 OPS, that power output is more than enough. While I would say the offense isn't a focal point of this team, we didn't really have a star, but we did have a lot of really solid players. It was another really good season for Cash Franco, who continues to be really consistent, along with Josh Bennett. Then in the rotation, I'm really excited about this unit going into the playoffs, and aside from the slightly disappointing season from Matthew Hopp, this bullpen was absolutely lights out. After losing in the wild card last year, I'm certainly thankful we have a first round bye as we're taking on the Guardian. This is a really interesting Guardians team, combining Travis Bazzana with a pitcher that played back in the 1960s. Robin Roberts is certainly going to be a problem, along with David Justice, who's not quite in his prime anymore, but the guy can still get on base. How can you not be romantic about baseball? With Oliver Rivera on the mound, we have to hit the ground running, and that is not what I had in mind. We just gave up 2 runs and need to deliver in the third. This is not a good start to the series, but with 2 on and 2 away, Zane Roberts belts that one into right field, and that's gone. That is a 3-run shot from one of our best offensive players. The offense doesn't have a superstar, but it always feels like they clutch up whenever we need it, as there's 2 more bombs. It was definitely a slow start, but the Bananas lock in and secure Game 1. I gotta give a huge shout out to Zane Roberts, who had 4 RBIs on 2 home runs. We're gonna need a lot more of that. Just like last game, we're starting out down a run, but we rally right back. Once again, Zane Roberts was involved in it, and Villafuerte scores our 3rd run of the inning as Rodriguez just went deep. Our 99 overall man, Heath Adams, goes 6 innings, only allowing 1 run in another Bananas win. We are 1 win away from going up against either the Guardians or the Mariners in the ALCS, as there's 4 runs. We continue pouring on home runs as Franco launches another one, and in the end, our offense was too much for the Guardians. That was a dominant 3-game sweep as the offense breaks out in a huge way, and we have a ton of momentum going into the next round. No matter what happens, we're going up against a tough team, and the Orioles take down the defending champs. We have seen this team many times throughout the video. They require no introduction, and we're jumping straight into it. If we have a single chance to win this, Heath Adams needs to start out the game strong. That is the worst start possible. Fortunately though, the offense comes right back, loading the bases, and who else? Luis Villafuerte. Our Mr. Playoff ties the game. Just like we saw against the Guardians, we start out slow, but the offense does not panic, and Jose Arnez just blasted this one into right center field. We rally back with 4 runs in the first inning. That is going to give us a much better chance to win this game, as Hobson gives us another dinger, and 99 overall Heath Adams is doing just enough. The offense continues to find its way on base, and we are not stranding them. There's another run. That was Zane Roberts again, and at the rate things are going, he's gonna be the playoff MVP. He has been phenomenal. Thanks to the offense, we secure game 1. I cannot understate how massive winning that first game is. You know, low taper fade type stuff. Now in the second game though, we have to score against Vita Blue, and with the bases loaded, we strand everyone. That is not good, and there's the first run. Blue has completely locked us down, but finally, there's a tying home run. That is a huge moment as Bruce is gonna follow up, giving us the lead. That is gonna set up Edgar Rodriguez for the save, and he starts out striking out 2, and with Murray pinch hitting, he gets aboard. Rodriguez has been money for us, and that was a bit of a scary pitch, but fortunately, it's gonna stay in the yard. Savannah is now 2-0 in the series and 5-0 in the playoffs, and now going on the road to Baltimore, we're trying to make it 3-0, but they beat us 4-3. That is gonna set up a huge game 4 where Baltimore has a chance to tie it up, but we start out with a Bennett home run. With John Monticelli on the mound though, that is not gonna hold up as Baltimore rallies right back with 2 runs of their own. Now is the time for the offense to clutch up, and there's 2 runs. They have refused to back down throughout October, and a passed ball gets 2 guys in scoring position. That will give Zane Roberts a chance to extend the lead, although that's soft contact. Now with Monticelli out of the game, I'm begging for the bullpen to hold on, and another run makes that more manageable, but there's Pete Rose. For some reason, he's their 9-hitter and just hit a huge dinger off of Gibson. That is more than likely going to send us to extras, but Zane Roberts on third. We've already seen Arnaz step up once in the playoffs, but this goes straight to the left fielder. Now we're just going to sim forward and hope for the best. As they have 2 guys on, can Rouse get out of it? There's a walk-off for Baltimore. They came from behind, tying it up, and then walk it off. This is feeling like the Yankees series all over again, but at least Hobson leads us off with a dinger. That is going to put us out in front, and now Zane Roberts gets a fastball right down the kisser. He belts it out of the park, giving Savannah a 3-0 lead. That is going to put us in a really good spot, but here comes Baltimore tying the game just like that. Even with our elite rotation, this team has been a problem, but here comes the offense. That would make it 5-4, but now in the 9th inning, trying to close it out, we're in a bit of trouble. This offense refuses to go away, tying the game right back up. That is going to set up our biggest extra innings of the season as we're trying to avoid getting swept in Baltimore. There's Adam Hobson again. Let's try this one more time. Norman Rouse closes it out. That definitely got scary, but we're 1 win away from the World Series. We are going back to Banana Park for the final 2 games of the series as Baltimore strikes first. Soriano starts them out with a run, and we're having a hard time breaking through Vita Blue. Throughout the series, we've had no problem rallying from behind, but it's still 1-0 in the 6th. Oliver Rivera's been really good, but finally there's a run. That is gonna tie it up, and now it's down to the bullpens. As the home team, walking this off and sending it to the World Series would be nothing short of magical, but after hitting into a double play, I am not optimistic, but Josh Bennett delivers. That is a solo shot. That is a 2-run walk-off home run to send the Bananas to the World Series. What a way to end the ALCS against what is now our biggest rival. It has been a long rebuild, but the Bananas have finally won a pennant. We have had so many crazy moments in this video, but that might be the biggest one so far. That is really exciting, but of course the job is not done. We're taking on the Dodgers. Even with legends, the Dodgers always find a way to stay broken, as they found a way to bring in Paul Skeens on a massive deal, and all I can say is if that happens in real life, it might be a long time before another team wins the World Series. I do have to say though that aside from this rotation being insane, this team is not even close to as talented on paper as the Orioles, and we should have a pretty good chance to win it. We've built such a fun roster with many promising players on the way up that even if we don't win the World Series, I guess the biggest consequence is that I'm gonna have to play another season of this franchise, and that honestly doesn't sound that bad. I'd actually have fun doing that. That being said though, I'm really hoping that we take care of business as we're starting out with Heath Adams on the mound, and for some reason, he sucks in the playoffs, but keeps getting bailed out by the offense. This offense has been absolutely electric, and that is going to continue. Adams could have the most mid-game of all time, but with the way the offense is playing, it wouldn't even matter. That's another dinger for Adam Hobson. Game 1 of the World Series was not even close, with the entire offense getting involved, including 2 home runs from Adam Hobson Hobson, along with a dinger from Villafuerte and Mackenzie Bruce. Pretty much everybody's producing, and I think the most insane thing about it is that a lot of these guys have not even reached their ceilings yet. Just for example, one of the oldest players on the team is Luis Villafuerte, and while he's 90 overall, coming off of a 32 home run season, he's a 98 potential catcher. That is just one example of a player who has not reached his ceiling, and even if we continued the franchise after these guys hit free agency, I don't think anybody would be able to stop us. However, we're only leading by one game in the World Series, so anything can happen, although there's a dinger from Francisco. That is gonna put us in the lead, but there's a grand slam. Just a second ago, we were leading 2-0, and I was feeling really good, although we come right back with a 3-run shot from Villafuerte. He turns on the high inside pitch, and now we have a 1-run lead that Hobson's gonna extend. Just being kind to the Dodgers, they don't stand a chance against this offense, and we would go on to take Game 2 10-4. I think that's the same score as Game 1. Just like in that game, we hit 4 dingers, and the entire offense got involved. Coming into the playoffs, there were a lot of questions about our offense's consistency, but I think it's pretty fair to say that those have been silenced. Another win brings us to 3-0, so we are now 1 win away from sweeping this team in the World Series. However, this time around, the Dodgers came to play, and they've got Paul Skeens on the mound. We have only gotten 1 hit against him so far, and just stranded runners at the corners. That needs to change, as there's a solo shot from Bruce, and it seems we're right back in it, but we give up a run. While the offense is struggling, we have 4 more games to get 1 more win, but getting the sweep on the road would definitely be a lot of fun. Unfortunately, it's not gonna happen, but unless we lose another game, I'm not worried, as that's a great start. Former first-round pick Cash Franco goes deep, but the Dodgers rally back, taking the lead. It feels like the offense is cooling down, but the bases are loaded, and there's still nobody out as Rodriguez pops up short into the outfield, and that's gonna be too short. We really wanted the sac fly, but with Villafuerte on third, he did not have enough speed, although now he's taking off. He is not very fast as the throw comes in on line and gets him out. That is a terrible double play, as the Dodgers are gonna add 2 more runs, and that decision might have cost us the game. That is 2 wins in a row for LA, where the offense is kinda shut down, so now we really need to lock in, as Oliver Rivera is not helping. He gives up 4 runs. That is the worst possible start for a player who has been nothing but clutch throughout the playoffs, so now we really need a miracle, as there's 3 runs. We cannot afford to force a Game 7, as the bases are loaded, but we have to avoid the double play, and fortunately a run's able to score. We have rallied back with 4 unanswered, but that's not great. With a chance to take the lead, we strand 2 guys in scoring position, and it happens again. Despite hitting 2 doubles, we could not score a run. Hobson and Roberts give us 3. That is 7 unanswered runs for the offense, and make it 8, as this team certainly found a way to make me nervous, but in the end, we close out the Dodgers, winning the Savannah Bananas a World Series in 7 seasons. This was the hardest rebuild I've ever done, and I think for the future I have plans to make it even tougher. If you guys enjoyed this one, please drop a like and subscribe, as it did take a lot of work, being one of my biggest projects of the season. As we get into the off season, let me know if you have any video ideas, but for now, thank you for watching, and click right here to see more content.